money. My guest here has made so much money from what they call creating static interfaces to fostering dynamic interactions and behavioral change. We're getting into all of that. If it's a concept you've never heard about, well, here's an opportunity to hear about it. And it's exciting for me, especially because I hear he's making a lot of money. I want to tap into it. Thank you so much for being on the program. We have in the studio Andrew Dietekoki. Yes, Andrew Dietekoki. Well, there are some people who might be looking at me and asking why I'm happy that I have not beat my tongue. Should try it. It's not easy. Andrew Dietekoki. Thank you so much for being here. He's a product designer. Now, let's talk about this concept. For some of us who just use the computer, we use our phones, we don't know all the things that go behind it. For others who have never heard about the concept, please tell us what UI UX designing is about.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, thank you for having me. So the idea of UI UX, so basically the term UI is user interface and UX is user experience. So the combination of the two makes for a whole package that has to do with creating an experience for users when they interact with products. I am using products as a general term when it comes to websites, when it comes to apps, when it comes to most digital products, yes. So the experience of interacting with that and creating the experience for the users is the whole concept about UI UX. So I'll give an example. When the user interface is created, you have your WhatsApp, for example. You interact with the user interface, right? But there is a lot that goes behind before the user interface is seen. Recently, WhatsApp did an update on their app, the status part, where you now have channels and all of that. And so what goes behind the whole work about before you see the interface itself is what is called the user experience. User experience basically is around giving the user a good experience when they interact with the product. So you don't struggle to use the product.
Right.
That's the general concept basically.
Okay. Now let's talk about the money part and the evolving, because when you hear that by 2050 over 100 million people would be employed with this, and that there is so much potential for it, especially when we talk about AI. We're talking about robotics and it's taking over jobs. There's always been that fear that if artificial intelligence comes to take over jobs, what will be in it for us? Some of us who have to really work and who have to be physically present, you know. So that's the question I often ask. Where is the money is going to come from? Some of us are not technically savvy, or technologically savvy rather. So where are these jobs going to come from for some of us?
Okay. So there's a general concept that, so I'm going to just touch on the AI part. There's a general concept that AI is going to take over
jobs as we know them.
Yes. But I don't think so. So AI is basically a tool to aid our work. There's not going to be a time that AI is going to actually, in my opinion anyway, that AI is going to take work, because you still need people to actually interact with people. So for example, in the field of UI UX design, you need to speak to people. You don't make up stories. You actually use data. Human interaction data. So sometimes you use YouTube, and after watching a video, you get a survey of, okay, how's this experience been for you? So all of that is still human interaction. A human has to attempt to interact with the system to give you feedback.
Exactly.
And so it's not necessarily taking, I think it's basically aiding the work. So for example, these days you don't have to read a lot of books. You just ask a question on, for example, ChatGPT. Exactly. So I don't think that AI is going to take over.
Necessarily take over. I mean, when we're seeing robots having to deliver mail, deliver meals, deliver things that human beings used to do, it gives people fright, sort of. But let's talk about how Nigeria has harnessed the potentials in technology in the UX UI design in the first place? Have we understood that this is another potential oil?
Well, potential oil, I wouldn't go that far, but on a general note, I think
you're being modest. You don't want to admit you're making a lot of money. Is that it?
Well, people make a lot of money. People assume I make a lot of money. I do well, I mean, basically, but the idea that is going to be the next oil, I don't know how long that is going to be for us. In a general view, right, there's a lot of money in it, because it seems like the UI UX, let's say designers, for example, are basically an integral part of developing a product, whether it's a physical product or a digital product. So you need to interact with something, and somebody is going to build that form of interaction that you're going to have. And so it's a lucrative field, I would be honest. But at the end of the day, you need to be vast in knowledge. And so the idea for us in this part of the country, right, or in Africa, where we are now embracing it. You know, the Western world, they've gone like far. You see those things come up in new products. For example, Apple is one of the pioneers when it comes to design and all of that. But in this part of the world, it's like whatever whatever is given to us is what we use, basically. But a lot of people are embracing it. So you have fintech companies getting into the space, hiring UX designers to improve financial products, for example, and all of that. So we're embracing it. We're not there yet, but there's a lot of potential. You have a lot of people taking courses on UI UX or UX specifically, and all of that. So we're moving really fast. But are we there yet? Is it in the next 50 years? I don't think so.
But why would we not be there yet? Say 50 years is a lot of time. And what would you, because when we look at the school curriculum of young people right now, it is what I learned that they are learning. I mean, you can't describe a computer to a 21st century child who probably already has a tab and no longer needs the desktop. But that's what is in their curriculums. That hasn't changed. What would you suggest we can do to move up and move up fast?
Okay, so in the Western world, I'm using this because that's the areas I'm conversant with. You don't have so people go and do design degrees in the university in the Western world. You don't have that, or you don't have that very common here, right? Except you're going to a school outside of the university to learn this thing, but you have them as courses, like full courses. You have product management as a full course. You have UI UX design as a full course. You have UX design as a full course. So in the long run, except we change our curriculum to, you know, fit this area of study, then we can. But the general computer science is general. You don't learn anything about UI or UX.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't learn what I'm doing because of, I did computer science and mathematics in my university days, but I mean, it's not, do you understand? I had to learn by myself. And so until we are ready to embrace and move away from some common things like, you know, the petroleum engineering courses, and actually know that this thing is actually going to help us in the long run. There are systems to build. The election systems are built by developers and designers. And so when we move, when we embrace it, basically, we know that it's actually good. It's actually a tool for the economy. Even it in the long run affect our economy also, because I mean, all the courses we do them abroad, and we're paying money offshore and all of that. So
So what would you say your story has been, you know, practicing here in the country as a UI UX designer?
Okay, so I started off in the country. I had a job where I was both the UI UX and a developer. Then it was like web designer. And so you do both designs and develop. Right, but I moved away from that space and you know, got into designs basically, and then moved to specific area of design, which is the UI UX design. And so most of the companies I've worked with are not Nigerian companies. Let me just say that, because again, when you want to get into when you want to get into a space when it comes to your career, you want to do well. If you want to start off, I mean, you can start off here, right? But if you want to really do well, people that have embraced the idea of UI UX design, or have seen the significance of this aspect of design, if you want to appreciate and grow in that area, I usually recommend that you do, look for a company that's outside Nigeria. As I said, you're embracing it, right? It's not common yet as much as
it should
be, right? But when it comes to design thoughts, design leaders, you find them in places like Apple, you find them in Microsoft and all of that. We are moving, some of us move like offshore and join them.
When can we have our own Silicon Valley here?
Yeah, until that happens, until we think beyond just using and making these things happen, then I think that we can actually move from where we are to where we are supposed to be.
So what have you designed that I can quickly check out?
Okay, so I currently work with a VectorFX. Basically, it's more like a fintech company that does more like sets of infrastructure for more like exchange, payment infrastructure basically,
right.
Offshore and onshore and all of that. So I basically redesigned their website, and that was one of the most recent project I've worked on. I redesigned their website. I worked on the design system. I'm basically building a base for which every other thing can be built upon. So that's the most recent. But if it comes to a product, right, that I've built, I'm still improving on it. It's called Norrua, like NORRUA.app.
Okay.
Right. It's basically a space where you can find like apps, right, that you can use on your daily activities.
Really?
Yeah, so for example, a video editor, you go on the site, I want to do a particular task, you just search for it and you see the app that you can use, then you go find the app, and then, so it's more like a database kind of system, but it gives you relevant tools for any kind of task in different area, in different fields, like marketing, designs, engineering, and all of that. So that's that. I have other things I'm building, but I'm not going to talk about it yet.
Okay, but what would you say for young people who are interested in ICT? What would you say the government can do to make the environment conducive enough for them to thrive?
Well, I think that even without the government, there's a lot of resources for for young guys to actually thrive. So I'm self-taught. Self-taught means that I learned from basically other people, search for materials online and all of that. So I'm going to be honest, if you want to wait for the government to get on your feet, just forget about that. And actually, so there are a lot of sites, there are a lot of resources online on YouTube. You search Google, I want to learn UI UX, and you can basically start off. There are a lot of like UI UX design challenges, for example, or general ICT challenges that you can pick up and start your journey. And then before you know it, one challenge to another, to another, and to another, and you're already getting proficient in it. There's a friend that I have that recently joined. He's a photographer, and he wants to learn UI UX. And so one of the things, he will reach out to me, okay, where do I get this? How do I do this? So I'm more like helping him in the little way I can to, okay, vet the work that he's doing. But one of the things he did was join one of these challenges. Like there's a design challenge, they give you a task and you work on it, and all of that. So that's there. But what the government can do is, again, if we find these things very relevant to us, is just make available these resources, and then remove some of the restrictions they're trying to put on people being able to access the internet or get materials and all of that. And then we should have like a library where if you want to, like in Port Harcourt, I think there's a e-library sponsored by Zenith Bank and all of that, but I don't know of anyone in Abuja. Maybe there is, I don't know. Right, so libraries like that, you get your books that
would just assist you
basically, and so that's one way to go about it.
Okay, well, for young people who are listening to you right now and who are interested, what would be your final words to them before we leave?
Okay, so there's nothing that you put your mind to do that you can't achieve, right? Really, there's nothing. Again, when I was in school, I had to sometimes skip class. I was engrossed in programming, so I had to skip class and all of that. It paid off, right? I'm from that journey. It's easy for me to just, okay, I have a skill in this area and I can be relevant anywhere. There's no company that don't need a software engineer or a UI UX designer or a product designer. It's now like integrated in most companies, at least a lot of companies. Let me not use a statistics, but yeah. So if you put your mind to do it, you can do anything. And the internet is so wide that you can find any resource that you need.
Exactly.
If you are looking for, let's say, mentors or motivators, there are places that you can find them, right? And reach out to people. Okay, I'm starting this journey. I want to do something. So, for example, there's a website called ADP List, right? You can find mentors there that teach you on basically what you want
whatever
to do.
You want.
And
right.
yeah, so if you want to do it, you can do it.
Thank you so much, Andrew Diete-Koki. Product designer. Thank you so much for being part of ASO Morning. You have really enlightened me, and I'm excited. Yeah. Maybe I should start researching on it and see if maybe it's something I can.
You should.
Yeah,
it's quite interesting.
I can tell you're very passionate about it. Okay, this is where we round it up on ASO Morning today. My name is Joy Asoye. Rest assured, we'll be back tomorrow again with so much more. But today, have a productive day.